All right, everybody. We've been recording a lot this week. Friday, March 7th. It's 2 o'clock Eastern time. I'm joined by Joey Slye, hailing from Stafford, Virginia. We were just talking about this. Actually born in New Mexico. Fun random fact on Wikipedia. Came to Virginia Tech together back in 2014. Joey chose to walk on at Virginia Tech over a scholarship offer to JMU. Got the scholarship and left as the all-time leading scorer at Virginia Tech. I actually didn't know that, Joey. I looked that up and I didn't know that. 403 points in the career. You have been in the NFL for 6 years, broke the Patriots franchise record with a 63-yard field goal this season.
Hell yeah.
Joey, good to see you, my man. How are you?
Good, brother. How are you?
I am amazing. The beard looks great. It has always looked great. Looks awesome.
The facial hair on you looks good too, man. You got the mustache coming into like a little bit of a goatee, kind of
But I gotta get it to. I can't get it to connect right here.
yeah.
I gotta get it to
I
connect.
think it's a good look. You can go like beard, like chin strap beard, mustache, and then maybe like a little I like to grill a lot goatee. Like
Mm-hmm.
if I got food from you from like a barbecue or something like that, I knew that like
Yeah,
my brisket's gonna be like juicy and like taste
that's
good,
true.
So I
I
feel
wish
like
I
that's a
could
good
touch
facial
though.
hair. Yeah.
The Fu Manchu. I'm always jealous because I'd like to do it, but I just can't. I can't get the connect. Maybe one day. Maybe one
Nice.
day.
Nice.
Hokey haiku from Pete McGee. I love this one. No distance too short. Leather hates to see his boot. Field goals on kickoff. Wow, Pete McGee. Very
Well,
well
well
done.
done. Well
Very
done.
well done. Well, actually, so I want to talk a little bit about just your routine and everything that you have going on. I loved this. As soon as I messaged our group chat that you were coming on, Mike Holmes had a great question. A
Okay.
lot of Tech fans will remember I can't remember what game it was. I feel like it was against Duke. But Coach Beamer sent you out for like
It
a
was Duke.
heinously long field goal, like
Yeah.
like 68, 72. It was super long. And no matter the distance, I'm always like, he's got a chance to make it because he's gonna hit it as
Yeah.
hard as he can. But my question is, in the NFL now, where you're trotting out for a 63-yard field goal, a 68-yard field goal, how realistic is a coach about the situation that they're putting you in? And how do you welcome that situation where you're being given the opportunity to hit a field goal that most people couldn't even come close to hitting?
Um, so going to go back to the original part of that question, you were right. It was Duke. That was like I think a 3 overtime game my sophomore year.
Oh, it's
Um,
four overtime game
four
against Duke,
overtime
I think.
sophomore
That's
year.
right. I'm
Yeah.
looking at it. Yeah.
Yeah. So that was at end of regulation. It was cold as all get out. I think that was a mid-November game, I want to say. Like probably like yeah, like November like 10th or something like that. So I remember it was super cold and I I maybe to my own detriment, I don't think I've ever like passed up a field goal that like I felt like I could make if circumstances like if I hit the best ball, like I don't think I'm ever gonna pass it up. Like I'm the type of person on like the golf course where like, I'm gonna try to drive the green, even though it might be, like, over water and the hole is, like, 400 yards away, and I've never hit a ball 400 yards. Like, you just gotta line it up, get the right hit, and you should be okay. So, for that one,
Mhm.
I remember Beamer was kinda, like, going down and forth back and forth on the sideline, and, I mean, you were there at that time, like, Beamer wasn't at a point where he could look at me and be like, "We're not doing this." He was kinda like, "Oh, yeah, like, go ahead." I like, even at certain points, I don't even think he knew that I was kicking. He was like, "Oh, yeah, yeah, that's not a liar." And so I was like, "Sweet."
Well, this
And
was
I
around the
remember
same time that you had this day where you did like a social media takeover, and I've seen you make a 70-yard field goal.
yeah,
But
I hit, like, a
again,
73, like, a couple weeks before that day, and
yep.
so I like, again, if it's perfect situation, like, I can
Mhm,
get a good, a good ball through at 65, 70-ish. But again, like everything's just gotta be perfect. Best
mhm,
snap, best hold, best ball that we can get out of the K bag. Like it's gotta be pumped up right. It's gotta be good conditions, maybe a little bit of a breeze at my back. So there's some of those things that come into it. And Yeah, so attempting a 68 yarder in the middle of November. Sounds like exactly what we did this year when we played Indianapolis, and I did the exact same thing. The only difference is I was a half a yard short this year versus I think that year I was like damn near like 6 yards short, 7 yards short. I remember me and AJ Hughes had to start going and covering. So, um, but yeah, all that being said, I I kick my normal like pregame warm up. We'll hit to a certain distance, and this is definitely more in the NFL than it was in college. Because honestly, at college, I felt like there was just so much stuff going on pregame, especially at Virginia
Mhm.
Tech. Like, there's a lot of stuff going on, so I don't think people are too worried about like where's my range.
Yep.
Uh, but in the NFL, I'll get to a point where I'm hitting from, 60, 61 in pregame. And if I hit a good ball, like a clean struck ball for me, I'll kind of judge. So let's say that I hit from 60, I clear it into the back net. So I'm good from probably 65. And I'm just like, hey, that was a good ball for me. I know I'm good. I may cut one from 60 and barely make it and be like, okay, let's actually like really see where we're at. So let's go back to
Mhm.
64 and see if I can. And if I come up short from that, from hitting a really good ball, I know like, hey, I'll at halftime, at end of game, like 61, 62 is where my number is. But it is sometimes where some of the coaches are out watching, and I'll hit one from 62, 63, and it like smashes against the back net, and they're like, okay, well that's clearing it from 5, 6 yards away. So we have an opportunity to hit from damn near 68 if we have a chance. And a lot of those times, if the game is tied and if we make it, we win. If we miss it, we go to overtime. That gamble for them is a little bit more probable at certain
Mhm.
situations than a Hail Mary. Like we see how many times a Hail Mary actually works out. And so for
Mhm.
that, it's do we feel like the probability of making this field goal is that much better? And so hopefully I'm usually on the side of that percentage being a little bit better. So
Joey, you've been all over the country: Carolina, Jacksonville, Houston, San Francisco, Washington, most recently New England. What has been like the biggest takeaway from you to, our lives are so regimented over the course of college. You're not studying abroad. You're not going to visit your aunts and uncles in Washington or Seattle. You're kind of tied to Blacksburg in that Virginia area. But getting around and seeing so much of the country, what has that experience been like for you? And what's been the most rewarding and maybe the most challenging for you?
um yeah, I mean obviously just having the opportunity to say that I played in the NFL for 6 years is already a blessing. The NFL stands for not for long. So the average, career for an NFL player is 3 years. Obviously, because we watch football so much, you see the guys that are in there for like Aaron Rodgers going on a year like 20. We watched Tom Brady do it for like 24 years. So everyone thinks like, oh, guys are just in football forever, but you don't understand like the revolving door that ends up happening on a day-to-day basis in a building. Like a week to week thing where you see a guy get signed on a Monday, they get cut on a Thursday, they're in another building, the next week. And so that is you get the top end of someone staying in the same organization for 20 something years, and you see the low end of someone that's there for 24 hours. And I've been kind of in that middle area, or maybe even on the other side of that average. And so just the fact that I've been able to bounce around and stay employed for that has been a blessing. That's been obviously like the good side of it. I would also, I mean, obviously like to stay in places more than a couple years, and that's the whole goal of being in the league is trying to do well enough that you stay. And that's been my fight for years is just being as consistent as I can be. But the hardest thing, I definitely for me is just obviously, as you know, me and Britt are married, and we've been together for the entire time I've been in the NFL, and just had a baby back in November, so we got a little one around, or not crawling around the house, but crying around the house right now, and um, just the push and pull of being away from her, being with her, being away from her has definitely been difficult. I mean, if I was single and running around, like going around the US and being able to kind of explore things by myself, that'd be one thing. But I mean, she's my life partner, and so
Mhm.
not being able to do all of those things with her is definitely kind of the difficult thing, especially when she's at home holding down the fort. So um, yeah, I mean, it would make things a lot easier if she was able to just come around with me. But for the first couple years, she was a in PT school, and then she finished up PT school, and she was working as a physical therapist, and now she's a mom. So that's going to be the grind of this year of being in a different city, whether it's back in Boston or wherever it might be after free agency. It's going to be another kind of test, and we'll try to figure out how to move around together. But that's definitely, I mean, obviously, if I could stay in the same place for years and years and years, you can kind of set some roots, and it's a little bit easier to navigate the NFL. But it's a high stress job, and it's nice to have a support system around you. So
I always ask MLB, NFL, NBA, WNBA, what was the one thing that surprised you the most about going from a college locker room where everybody is within 2 or 3 years of your age range to going into an NFL locker room where you can be in this, you can have a locker next to somebody who's a parent of 8, you can have a locker next to, I believe you shared a locker or were close to Cam Newton at some point, like so many different personalities and different phases of life. Like, what was the biggest adjustment, or what is the biggest difference between those two locker rooms?
yeah, so I mean, I think you actually need to add another one in there, and that's high school. I think we like a couple questions that people would ask me is like, oh, who do you hang out with the most on the team? And I mean, for me, obviously being a specialist, you kind of hang out with the specialist the most. I mean, obviously when you were an offensive lineman, you hung out with the O line a lot. And then obviously I know like being in the dorms and stuff like that, you have your friend groups that you're, sleeping with at night and hanging out with and things like that. So you think about it all the way back in high school, you have like people that you were friends with, that you played sports with, that you hung out with. And then you go to college and you start your group ends up kind of being like either your position group or like different teams, like you said, in basketball and WNBA and all MLB. Some of those groups are, I mean, an NBA team's like what, like 10, 15 people on a
Yeah,
team.
15 guys on a roster. Yeah.
And so you're talking about 15 guys that are probably going to be around each other a lot. They travel a lot, and so your group is pretty small. If you're talking about 53 guys on an active roster, 69 on a total like NFL roster, it's a little bit different. And again, that revolving door makes it even more difficult because someone that you might get really, really close with during training camp because he's your locker mate that you're like, you come in every morning, you might eat breakfast with him, whatever, you talk to him in between in and out of meetings, all of a sudden, like cut day comes and he's gone. And then you like literally never see that guy again. And so something that's a little weird. So when people ask me like, "Hey, who do you hang out with a lot?" Uh, and then they're like, "Hey, do you like go hang out with them a lot?" And I mean, if we're golfing, we might go out, we might go grab food on an away trip, but it like was a weird change of like you said, like you might be next to someone that's like a parent of children. So like if I'm in an apartment and you're like a quarterback that's making like 40 million and you have like
In a suburb.
four
Yeah.
kids, like do you think I'm gonna go hang out over at your house and play video games with you like we did when we were in college? Like that's just not gonna happen. So
People are a little bit
um
busier too. I think that gets like swept under the rug. Like
yeah,
when you're in Blacksburg, Virginia for 10 months out of the entire year and you can only work out so much, like, yeah, there's a little time to play FIFA, there's a little time to go fishing, there's a little time to go figure some stuff out. But um I don't think a lot of people that are working at IBM or working at whatever company are like, me and my desk mate, we go we go to our version of Elrod's for chips every Wednesday. Like.
that's literally the like when people ask me like, "Oh, who do you hang out with?" I'm like, "Who do you hang out with from work?" And they're like, no one." And I'm like, "The NFL technically is work. I know it's
Yeah.
a sport and you see it as like, oh, I'm best friends still with like you know, my girlfriend that I was best friends with in field hockey. Like we hang out all the time still." And it's like, yeah, from high school. And it's like, yeah, it's like if you were on a professional field hockey team, like you guys just would not I don't know, maybe you guys would hang out more, but it's just
Mhm.
not the same dynamic. And
Right.
going from, high school where football's definitely a like or your sport is like your passion and there's other things you want to do. You don't lose that passion, but you do understand like I mean, even in college, like it's more of a job. Like the 6 a.m. workouts and the like when people were partying on Friday nights, you were at the hotel at Hotel Roanoke eating cookies, getting ready for the game. Like those are all things that you're preparing for. And I don't think a lot of people understand that aspect of it because if they only played like high school sports, the transition from college and then the transition from college to the professional side of it, Um, there's a high time demand, and it's a lot more of a business. Like I said, it's very cutthroat. You'll see people coming in and out of buildings. You see it even like your high school coach in football back at Paramus, like was probably there for like 30 years.
Mhm.
I've been through like three coaching fires, and I've played for a bunch of different head coaches on a bunch of different teams. But like the only coach that I have played with when I was there and is still at that team now is Kyle Shanahan when I played for him in San Francisco.
Mhm.
Every other coach that I've been associated with in the NFL now has been fired from their job, either while I was there or um, like shortly after I left. So it's just been a lot of just business. It's crazy to
Mhm.
see.
I spoke with Coach Berg yesterday. It was
Heard.
awesome to hear they're bringing man makers back, which is going to be a rude awakening for all those young guys. But I'm curious, in the spirit of strength and conditioning, can you walk me through your training and diet situation? I don't know what you were doing yesterday. You were doing some like bent over row with a 200-pound dumbbell. Not sure, I go to the health club, I get in the sauna, I have a nice little routine that I follow. But how
It
does your
says never
routine?
skip leg days. I'm confused.
You can't skip like you can't spell legendary without leg day. But you can't spell leg day without legendary, actually. I did that
Gotcha.
backwards
Gotcha.
yesterday. Yeah.
Gotcha.
But how does your routine differ from the typical kicker routine?
Yeah. So I mean, there are gonna be not to completely nerd out on you. This is like kind of my area of like I don't want to say expertise because that sounds a little bit
Mhm.
uh yeah, but like this is like the stuff I want to get involved with when I'm done with football. Obviously when we went to school together, I was a big guy in the weight room.
Mhm.
I got very close with, I mean, Gentry for a little bit, but me and Hilgert have a really good relationship, and Anthony Crosby, I mean, Schumann, Ferg, all those guys, like I had very close relationships with. I've really connected with all the strength coaches that I've met in the NFL, and the networking that I've been able to do from that has honestly been something that I am very thankful for being in the league because I get to meet all these guys that are, top in the field of S&C. Um, but I have to do a good job of marrying both like me being a meathead, like and just wanting to work out hard and put that into kicking. And so
Yeah.
there is a little bit of things that I'll do that are completely unorthodox that are unorthodox because I just want to do them. And now like yeah, yesterday I'm rowing 200-pound dumbbells and you're like, okay, that's not necessary for like lifting or for kicking. And if I want to be like that guy, I can be like, well, technically, and that's even like when I posted it, it's like a kind of a joke. It's like I can go in that like rabbit hole. Like this is actually like very beneficial for what I do. It's like anti-rotation of one side and like leverage of like hip extension on the
You
other and
shouldn't have to do this. You shouldn't have to do this though, Joey. Like, here's what I don't
yeah,
understand. Is for some people, like your hobby, as long as I've known you, has been weightlifting. This is like somebody going on
yeah,
a linebacker's Instagram and saying, "Why are you playing pickleball? That doesn't help you make tackles on third down." Like for all of the stuff that people like to fill their life with, weightlifting literally is what your pastime is.
yeah. And so that's where again, if I know the stuff well enough to defend it if I really need to.
Mhm.
Most of the time I don't. And it only is when like if I do well, like I hit a 63-yard field goal and I have Greg Olson, who I was cool with in Carolina, kind of gives me some love about being like, hey, he's always been in the weight room, like he loves lifting this, that, whatever. And so it's like, oh, like if he lifts heavy, he can kick further field goals, and then like miss another field goal, and everyone's like, well, if you get out of the weight room, you probably make that field goal. And it's like, yeah, well, shut up. Like, it really ends up just kind of being like, okay, like
Yeah.
whatever. What
Mhm.
if I'm damned if I do, I'm damned if I don't.
Yeah.
So for me, I'm honestly like, if I'm gonna die on any hill, I'd rather die on a hill being able to row 200-pound dumbbells than being a
Mhm.
weak little, you know, little scrawny little kicker. So that's just kind of where I'm at with it. But uh no, it's just like I said, it's been a passion of mine. It's something that I want to continue post
Mhm.
football. It's funny, like I've met enough people that when that strength coach job opened up at Virginia Tech, I got texts from coaches that are like, are you gonna go apply? And I'm gonna take this kicking thing until
Yeah.
like the wheels fall off. But it was like back in my mind, I was like,
Mm,
"Oh, dude, I might need to take a trip down to Blacksburg and just talk
yeah.
to Wit or talk to Pry and just be like, hey,
Yeah.
like, so let me interview, just kind of see like what you guys would even think about me being the head guy. Like I got some ideas,
Uh-huh.
here and there. So it's definitely something I want to get involved with post football. It's just kind of when that will be. I'll hopefully have a nice little coasting into it. But yeah, I love lifting. I've talked about it a couple times on whether it's been on a podcast with people or just kind of whenever people are like, "Why do you like lifting so much? Like, why do you care about being in the weight room?" It's always been an oasis for me. We talked about when we were at Tech, like my brother, passed away from leukemia back in 2014. When he was going through his battle, he's got diagnosed in 2012, and my mom was with him like for the whole entire 14 months that he fought. So she was home for maybe a week total in that entire situation. My dad would bounce back and forth between the hospital, stay with my brother for a little bit, stay with my mom to help that dynamic, and then would come home and kind of just check in with me, like, "Hey, like, school's okay? Like, you got food on the table? Like, are you okay? You're not starving yourself?" And I'm like, "Yeah, I'm good." So while a lot of that was happening, just to keep me on the straight and narrow, I'd wake up at 4 a.m. I go work out for 2 hours before school because I couldn't sleep. I go work out, get done, come home, eat, go to school, get done. Whether it was football season, I go to football, and then when I was done with that, I go back to the gym, work out, and then I go to my either stay at my house or I'd go to my best friend's house, stay with him, or I'd have my best friend come back with me to my house and they would sleep over. And it was just kind of a rinse and repeat for me. So it was the place that I knew that things kind of made sense when my
Mhm.
life like didn't make a lot of sense of what was going on. And it's always kind of made sense in my head. It was something that me and my brother also just kind of bonded over. Like we were very competitive with each other, and that was an area that I actually could compete with him pretty well. So we worked out a lot his junior and senior year when he finally got a car. We could go to the gym together. We would go work out. So it's always been somewhere where I've been able to kind of find peace, and then it's grown into something that I love doing, and then also like I just feel like I can help a lot of people um, in the gym. So that's just kind of
Mhm.
where a lot of that stuff stems from. But I also want to make sure like it. I am a complete meathead. I am completely like there is a little bit of
Let
like a
the record
douchebag.
show.
Like I don't want to sit here and be like, oh no, no, like I can be a douche. I can be in there being one of those guys. Like it is completely necessary for me to do that sometimes,
Yeah.
but there is other parts of it that I do enjoy in that aspect as well.
So this is a big reason that we're together today. Aside from the 200-pound row and everything else that you have going on, I did see that you were highlighting Joey's Visionaries of the Year. So Virginia Tech fans, Patriot fans, wherever you're coming from, whether you know it or whether you don't, every single time you make a field goal, you hold a six up to the sky. I want to talk a little bit about Joey's Visionaries of the Year, maybe a little background for people who may not know. So if you can just start with, what is Joey's Visionaries of the Year? What are the goals, and what are we trying to accomplish here?
Yeah, so I don't know if you remember this, but back in my senior year, I ran for the Leukemia Lymphoma Society Man of the Year. We did a huge campaign. We had a big event that we put on at the spring game. LLS reached out to me when I was in college, just saying like, "Hey, like this, I think this is a great opportunity for you to help fundraise in honor of your brother." I was super in for it. Wanted to obviously continue my brother's legacy in any way that we can. We have my family foundation that we do as well, the /John 6 Foundation, but this was kind of a separate entity, and that we wanted to kind of help use my name, image, and likeness at the time to help fundraise as much as we could. So in 2017, we raised about $63,000 in cancer research in honor of AJ. And the goal for that was really important for us because if we got above $50,000, we were able to donate or dedicate a cancer treatment plan in honor of someone. So AJ actually has a like AJ Slye Memorial cancer treatment that when people are like fighting certain cancers, they're getting treatment from like my brother's legacy. So that's huge for us. And in that campaign, I got linked up with a kid. His name is Fisher Metcalf. We partnered. So we were with Leukemia Lymphoma Society, LLS, and Fisher worked with a group at the time called Be the Match. They're now the National Marrow Donor Program. And what they do is essentially swab people to get put on a registry to match stem cells to see if they can donate to people that are in need of multiple diseases. But in my brother's case, it would have been leukemia. For his best friend, it was leukemia as well that he had lost when he was in high school. Um, and so Fisher and me linked up through that. We wanted to get a bunch of people swabbed at the time, but we were able to really connect in just the aspect that obviously my brother's story, his best friend's story, we definitely had the same kind of idea on a lot of stuff. And so the Leukemia Lymphoma Society every year does a man of the year, a woman of the year. Now they call it the Visionary of the Year just to get a bigger conglomerate together. And Fisher has actually been elected as one of the Visionaries of the Year. So in that grouping, I he asked me to be a part of his campaign. And
Mhm.
so we are under the same umbrella. But he is the one running for the Visionary of the Year. But I just want to help in any way that I can with him. So using AJ's story continually. Again, I'll touch on it when a little very briefly. My older brother AJ, was 2.5 years older than me. In 2012, he was diagnosed with leukemia. He had come home from Salisbury University complaining about back issues. Uh, that we ended up going to a local urgent care and we're trying to figure out what was wrong with him. They sent him to Mary Washington down in Fredericksburg, Virginia, and they told us down there that he had leukemia. So they immediately sent him down to UVA. He did about a month down there with chemotherapy, getting ready for a stem cell transplant. Uh, he wasn't healthy enough at the time when he was down there to get it. So then they transferred him to Johns Hopkins. He was up there for a month, wasn't healthy enough to receive treatment. And so we were kind of stuck in limbo. My brother was not there was a lot of cancer cells in his body that they couldn't really deal with at that point. So we ended up getting sent out to St. Jude, and they were the only ones at the time that could take him and try to get this transplant done. My brother was not matched with anyone very specifically. My mom ended up being his transplant donor, but sadly, my mom's bone marrow was not a good enough match for my brother for it to really hold. Very easily put, if my brother's cancer cells are like circles and my mom's are squares. When they put the squares into my brother's blood, the cancer cells that were circles transformed into squares, but they were hidden still as cancer cells. So when you get 100 days post-op from that transplant, which my brother hadn't made, ended up looking out in June, July timeframe, that 100 days post-op, he was at 99.99999% cancer free. So we were like, oh, cool. Like he's good. And within a couple weeks, it mutated and came back more aggressively. Went from 99 to 90, 90 to 80, 80 to 70, all the way down. So my brother got my brother went through hell and back. And so we were prepping him to get ready for another stem cell transplant with more exact match. But even again, based on that, be the match or now the National Marrow Donor Program. Uh, Based on that research that we had at the time, he didn't have a match that was going to be good enough to have a very successful transplant. So we were prepping him, and he just got so sick. His body was so ran down from all the chemotherapy and everything like that that he had passed away in February of 2014. So that's our story. That's why we continue to fight for my brother. Fisher, if you go on my website on the Leukemia Lymphoma Society, that is, I believe, is posted with the information from the podcast. You
Mhm.
can also look at my Instagram. I'm going to keep uh, blasting stuff out to make sure that we can get as much fundraising as we can in honor of obviously our close connections. Like I said, my brother Fisher's friend, but anyone that has been impacted by cancer, specifically, it's not an idea of asking for money. It's more of an idea of um, kind of building like a war chest to be like, you don't know who is going to be affected by this, and you don't know how directly it's going to impact you and your family. So the best way to kind of prepare for it is to find a cure and find a cure now and get it taken care of now before we continue to have to deal with this. I know I don't want anyone to go through what my brother went through. I don't want people to go through Like I don't want them to have a brother that has to watch their brother die. In Fisher's case, he doesn't want to see his best friend not live the life that he's supposed to. And so we are all in the same fight together. And so if you can just take the time to just click on the website, you can hear my story. You can look up Fisher's story as well. I think it's better to hear it from his mouth, and just understand that this is bigger than just, like I said, asking for donations or asking to fundraise. This is trying to bring awareness to the issue. I don't think a lot of people understand. So leukemia and lymphoma, the blood cancers, a lot of the stuff that is done with the research in LLS actually affects a, more cancers outside of leukemia and lymphoma, because the tests and research that they do is so difficult with blood cancers that a lot of the things that they're able to find to have success in other cancers actually stems from leukemia and lymphoma research. So they do an incredible job. They take care of families, they take care of the patients, and they're trying to find research constantly to see if we can get rid of this terrible disease. And so, yeah, that's uh, that's why we're doing what we're doing. Our campaign started on February 20th. It goes until I believe May 3rd. So we're trying to fundraise as much money as we can. It's a competition amongst people. Obviously, it's
Mhm.
healthy competition because every single dollar that's donated is going to go help save people's lives. And so that's what we're trying to do, is just see if we can save as many people as we can. I'd love for my brother to still be here. I know Fisher would love for his best friend to still be here. And we're just trying to give that opportunity to everyone else around us. So,
We will absolutely have the links on our social, the links in the article attached to this podcast, and we'll be sharing that on our social media. Do y'all have a goal this year?
I think Fish is going for 100,000. I think
$100,000.
we have a really
Mhm.
good group of people. Fisher's done a great job of getting connected with all of his. One of the guys that's actually in there is Brad Parcells, another one of our Hokie football alums
Mhm.
that's working on the same campaign. He's got a really good group of us with all these target goals, and I think currently my target goal is like 15K total to raise as just one pillar of his group. But I mean, we're going to try to fundraise as much as we can. We're obviously going to shoot for a high number and have high expectations for what we're looking for. But yeah, I mean, I'm going to also send you some stuff for Fishers. I can
Yep.
send you some stuff for Brad's. I'll send you all the information that's necessary to post on this. But yeah, like I said, we're trying to do it, and I think Fisher's a Virginia Tech grad. There's a lot of people that are in his group that are Virginia Tech grads, so I'd love for Hokie Nation to try to get behind this and help propel it the same way they did when I was doing this back in college. I remember I actually looked at my donation list a couple weeks ago when I was sending out some emails, and I saw all the people that were Hokies that were in that grouping, and we appreciated it then. Like I said, I was able to continue my brother's legacy, and again, this is another opportunity for Hokie Nation to get behind a good cause and show that Ook Prosum in another way. So,
I'll be getting involved. Y'all get involved and bring somebody with you. Bring somebody
yeah,
with you, and let's make a huge difference. So, Joey, thank you for doing that, and thank you for sharing your story on that as well.
for
We're
sure,
moving
man.
into rapid fire here. Mount Rushmore of hilarious teammates that you've had, the funniest teammates that you've had.
All right, like, should we go like a Virginia Tech one and then like a NFL one, or should we
You
just
could
go?
you could do it that way. Yeah, I
Because
was
I feel
thinking
like
NFL,
I
but
feel like I might have to just do Virginia Tech stuff, because I feel like, I mean, some of the names I feel like people aren't really going to know in the NFL, but let's go. So, Joe Caleb is one of my top.
he has to be on. He
Jig
has to be
Lawden.
on the list. Mhm.
Um, I mean, you're Billy. You're close up there, man. Like you,
I wasn't going to submit myself, but
I
I
know,
got to be
but
close. Yeah,
I mean, you might be like the. Who's
six
like the
man
one?
off the
Yeah. Well,
bench.
no,
Yeah,
no, no, because no, because there's four on there, so you can't be six. You're definitely. It's one of those ones where like I know people argue about like who's supposed to be the one off of the Mount Rushmore to put another president on there. So you might be one of those ones that's like, well, we could put Billy up there.
it's hard.
Um,
It's hard because I don't know if your list is the same, but like the combination of like Mook Reynolds, Adonis, and House,
yeah,
like that grouping, like you could just
yeah.
put all three of them on there. but you almost have to like group them together so they don't take up the whole
I
fucking
think
Mount Rushmore.
I'm not gonna lie, like Adonis would I think if you're gonna put one of them on there, it's gotta be Mook
Mhm.
because they fed off of Mook. So I do like that group. So I think Joe Caleb will go Mook.
Mhm.
Um I think in a certain way, one of the funnier dudes was Wyatt Teller.
Yeah.
And it's the stories of like the 5 a.m., 6 a.m. workouts that we cannot speak about
Yeah.
publicly, but the private times, if you know exactly what I'm talking about. So I might have to put Wyatt on there. Oh. I'm trying to think of someone for like from our class that was like,
Again, that whole group though, like even you could lump Steve Sobchak in there with Mook and
oh,
Adonis, like
dude,
another just
Steve.
hilarious dude.
Steve was
Ah.
Steve's for like I've known I was with Steve in high school because then like Vinny and Steve together
Mhm.
was
Mhm.
funny. Ah, dude, I'm
Is
trying to
Bruce on
think.
there? Can you put Bruce on Mount Rushmore? And I'll tell you what, he's
Bruce.
gotten funny. Bruce, I knew he wasn't on the team, but Bruce Breakfast
Oh,
Club with basketball now, Bruce
oh,
Garnes.
Bruce Cars. Yeah.
Like,
Okay.
I have a hard time not putting him on there. Even though he wasn't on the team, he was probably the funniest person, one of the funnier people in our
Well,
orbit.
then if we're going into like coaches, like I'm not gonna lie, like Stacy Searles hated me. I felt like he always called me the fat kicker, but like that would always make me laugh like really hard. I know like there was some beef amongst the offensive linemen with him sometimes, but like that was funny. Like,
Yeah.
I mean, dude, I'm trying to think.
Coach Vice was hilarious. Coach
Because
Sheevish
Vice
was
was a funny
hilarious.
dude. Oh, dude,
I mean,
Sheaves meeting, like special teams meetings on Fridays before the game were like top
mhm,
notch, like comedy.
mhm.
Um, this is gonna be a closer one to me. So I don't know if you dealt with him a lot, but Jonathan Galante is actually one of the funniest dudes. But it was like a dry humor, almost like
Okay.
and it was if you were around, like someone would say something and you'd hear like his comment behind you, and you'd be like, I'm gonna cry laughing because of what you said, but I can't laugh because Sheaves is gonna kill me. Like I can't laugh because Sheaves is in like one of his rants about like a meteor hurling towards the
Uh-huh.
earth and you're the
Yeah.
wall on the protect, and I'm like laughing because Galante's like, what the hell is this guy talking about? Um
Galante's
yeah, I
killing
mean
it too. I mean, he was at Marshall. He's at Tulane now. I mean,
Tulane
he's
now.
killing it.
He's doing
Yeah.
a great job, man. He was at
Mhm.
Alabama, won a couple of national championships. Get that under the resume, just
Mhm.
boost yourself. Go to Marshall, do well against Virginia Tech over a couple of years, and then head on down to Tulane. And
Mhm.
yeah, so we have Joel, we have Mook, who do we have? Wyatt.
Galante. There you
And
go.
I'm gonna
Yeah.
throw Galante in as a friendly nod to him for me.
Yeah.
So the other one I
Uh,
had was another slight one was Kevin Asante. I don't know if you remember Kevin a lot,
Kevin
but
Asante was so funny. Speaking of good
Kevin,
beards, man, it looks like he shaved himself up every single day. He always had a
yeah.
good looking beard. I ran into
Daniel Griffith, funny dude, very funny
Daniel
guy.
Griffith, funny. It's also funny where everybody's listed. Daniel Griffith's killing it on music now, producing country music. I ran into Kevin Asante and Ryan Malik at Jenks down the shore completely randomly. We had a Bruce Springsteen cover band, and I was like, no way, and they were both down there. It's crazy.
Nice, nice.
Um, is there a least favorite stadium you're kicking in?
Oh, it's Chicago, dude.
Chicago.
If we're talking about NFL, Chicago.
Yeah.
If you're talking about
Mhm.
college, uh,
Don't feel like you're visiting them enough to do that.
yeah, I
Unless
mean
you have one that jumps out at you.
ECU was kind of weird, but I'm thinking that we played them in like a monsoon back in like
Mhm.
2014 or 15 or whatever that was. No, Chicago, the one that we played in this year, I looked like I was kicking like cross-eyed, dude. I had no idea what was going on, but did okay. Thankfully, everything was pretty short, but it was a mess. It was so windy there.
Joey, do you have a moment that you were most fired up after a make? I think a lot of Virginia Tech fans are going to resonate with breaking the Ravens like 28 game preseason football
Oh,
streak. Like
dude.
you're rubbing your, but I love that you were so invested in an age
It's
where we're like people
it's
don't care
not
about all-star games, preseason games. Like you got me fired up, Joey.
So the thing that makes it look horrible, obviously, is I held up an L for the whole situation. And I understand optics. Like you can't fight
Sure.
optics. It literally has camera. The way that it looks like it was pointed looks like I'm holding
Mhm.
an L to their sideline. Like it just doesn't optically, it looks really bad. And that I'm like running away. So there's a lot that goes into that. Chase Young, his cousin Terrence used to work with me at Macomas at Virginia Tech. So I'm
Mhm.
very close with Terrence. And so I was like, yo, Chase, like, I know your cousin. And he's like, oh, like, you know Terrence? I was like, yeah. And so we got cool from that. And so Chase, when he was doing his rehab,
Mhm.
would be on our kicking field and he would always like mess with me. Like he'd always just kind of chirp at me, whatever, and I would make kicks and kind of like we had a little friendly banter on that. So
Yeah.
I'm holding up that L to Chase because while I'm about to kick that field goal, I don't hear anyone other than Chase. Chase is like at midfield screaming at me like, "Let's go, Joe Slye. You gotta make this Joe Slye." And so I'm like kind of laughing, knowing that it's him.
Yep.
And so I'm holding that up to him. So
Yep.
that's point number one off the table. Two, the kid that like tackles me is a kid named Mason Brooks, who's a rookie. I think he might have been undrafted, but like he doesn't know if this is his last game of his NFL career. Like he has no idea. So he just and it's a make, like we win, whatever. So he like kind of tackles me out of the frame.
Mhm.
Like he jumps on me and like takes me around. So I'm like, it looks it I know it looks horrible.
Look like
But
pandemonium.
oh, it's like, yeah, it looks like we won the Super Bowl, and it's just we beat the Ravens in a preseason game. And even worse, it's not even like time truly expiring. Like we can run off the field. This is like I gotta like collect myself and hit a squib kick so that we can end the game on like a. It's like the dumbest thing. So I wish honestly at certain points like that, if there was like a second left on the clock, like just let it run off so that we don't
Yep.
have to like reestablish. Like just let the game
Mhm.
be over. Let's whatever. So that was that. And I'm not saying that I don't like that kick or obviously the circumstances, but it's again optically it looks really really bad on our part. But my favorite, I will say my favorite kick is more of a pairing, and I know it sounds stupid, but the two kicks I hit against Philadelphia at Philly to beat them when they were undefeated when I was in Washington, I had a 58 going into halftime, which was a crazy kick. Like we had a high snap, laces were like spinning off, like the wind was gusting.
Mhm.
And so honestly, like the ball is still like kind of leaned awkwardly. Laces were at three, and I just kind of hit like a really strong ball out to the right upright, knowing like the wind's coming that way. It should carry, but I'm like, I don't know where like I can't see the laces. They're not where they're supposed to be. And so we just get it down and we get it up. And so I hit that. Obviously brings a bunch of momentum in. We were like super underdogs in that game, and then I come in the fourth quarter, and it's like I think we're up by like eight,
Mhm.
and we're marching on the field. We stall out, and I hit a 55 yarder to like ice it, and like those two kicks in Philly, like
Mhm.
it's Philly. Like I
Yeah.
gotta give them credit. Like when it's loud, but when it gets quiet in there, there
Mhm.
is no better feeling than to like get a because if you go to most stadiums, right, like people are heckling you for the first like 10, 15 minutes of the game, like,
Yeah.
Joey, you're gonna shank it. Oh, like I'm kicking it, they're like, oh, why not? I'm just kind of like, whatever. And like I always laugh at them too, because if they ever tell me I'm gonna miss left, like I don't really miss left a lot. I usually miss right. So when they're like, that was left, and I'm just kind of like chuckle in my head. I'm like, I actually probably missed that right, like you idiot. But uh and so they heckle me for the first like 10, 15 minutes of the game, and we might do a couple things here and there, but they just it tires out after a while. The entire game in Philadelphia, the entire game, they are just like, "You suck! Hey, you suck! And screw you! Hey, you missed!" And I'm just like,
Philly's
"Okay,
brutal,
guys,
man.
like, yeah, we got it." Like first quarter's over, and they're still doing it on the other side. And I'm like, "Okay," and then we come back third quarter, back to the same side. They're like, "Oh, welcome back! You suck!" And I'm just like, "Okay, guys, we get it." And then when it got silent, like, "Oh
Yeah.
shoot, we're gonna lose this game," and we were undefeated at the time. That's when it was like I hit the 55 and walked back to the sideline. I kind of like the people that have been chirping all game. You kind of give them a look like You probably should have shut up in the first quarter. Like, it just would have done you a little bit better service of not talking crap all game.
Mhm.
But again, I got to give them respect. They didn't stop until that point, and then that
Yeah.
that was a big game for everyone. So that's definitely, if I'm going to say like my best game, best moment, that's definitely probably number one. And then the other one, going back to college, our sophomore year, it's Beamer's last official game. We're playing UVA at UVA, and I hit a 44-yarder to like go up with like a minute something left in the game, and then Chuck Clark goes down and gets that pick at the end of the game.
Mhm.
That, like, I didn't feel it then. You kind of understand it later. Like, if we lose that game, like that's Coach Beamer's last game of his
Yeah.
career.
Mhm.
Like, we don't go to a bowl game in Beamer's last game of all time, and we lose to UVA, and that's how we send Coach Beamer out. Like that, all those things. Like for me, it's like, oh, you hit a go ahead field goal with like time, like you know, not a lot of time left on the clock. Like that's a big kick, but it's like you really look at the dynamic of all of that, especially with all the stuff going on around that time. Like the fact that we're able to send Coach Beamer off the right way, that was that was like a huge kick for me in college. So I would say those two, the one in college and the one in the NFL, are probably my two that I would recall as my favorite moments.
I always recall this because I think that I think that is super underrated when you look at not only not only the 2014 UVA game, which could have gone either way, the
Yep.
2015 UVA game, which could have gone either way.
Hmm.
And what's super underrated, it had to happen twice. Is we were trying to get to a bowl game in 2014. We were trying to get to a bowl game in 2015. And I think Tyshawn Jarrett and Chuck Clark led both of those player meetings where I don't remember exactly the situation. We had to win like two of the last three or three of the last five or something like that. And it is pretty remarkable because you're not
Yeah.
thinking of it in the moment, but you're like, wow, the team was able to put it together to be even in a position to secure a bowl game against UVA and beat UVA and go score the most points that we've scored in forever against Tulsa to win that game too.
Oh yeah,
Like
that was
pretty
that was
remarkable.
the craziest game that we.
Yeah.
I actually remember there was a point where I felt like you would just like sit down on the bench, and then like Isaiah would
Right
score,
back
and
up.
you're like, all
Yeah.
right, no, field
Mhm.
goal, and then you kick off, and then they would score, and you're like, okay, I got to get back in the net and get ready for the offense to go out there, and then like Cam would score, and you're like, okay, field goal, let's go, kick
The
off,
the
and then they
best
would like score, and I'm like,
the best highlight
what are we
the
doing?
best the best highlight from that game is there is a video of it was one of Isaiah's super long touchdowns and Eric Gallo is like sprinting in front of him because it's a screen but there's nobody for him to block and he's like Eric Gallo has like a 25-yard head start on him and Isaiah just chases him
Just
down but
goes
Eric's
right
still doing
past.
his whole thing trying to go as fast as he can.
The most
Oh man, that game's
athletic,
fun, man.
unathletic guy, Eric, dude. Eric started like day one. He was
Day
just
one.
the most solid of the solid could
Mm-hmm.
get. Like he just, and
Yep.
then do I have an opportunity in the NFL? I don't know, but I'm gonna be everyone's financial advisor when I'm done with
Yeah.
this. So like, I'm not
Yeah.
worried about it. So yeah,
Yeah.
that's
Eric was unbelievable, fitting in
yeah.
wherever he needed to fit in when Caleb Ferris was playing center, and then just jumping right into that spot. And again, there
Oh,
was
dude,
nothing that really.
Caleb's a funny guy too. I forgot about
Caleb was a
Caleb.
hilarious guy, and so was there was hilarious Caleb Ferris, and then there was like the most mindful and like omnipresent. I wasn't even into yoga at this point, but he would have been a great yoga instructor. Is Ed Wang? He would have been an
Okay,
amazing yoga instructor because there were a couple of times where like we'd be going through practice and you're
David,
tired.
right?
And
Not
David
Ed.
Wang, sorry. Be a couple
I'm gonna
times you're
say
going through
Ed. I think Ed
practice
Wing's like his dad or
way, yeah,
brother or
way,
something.
way, way
Okay,
before. But a couple times you're going through practice, you're feeling bad for yourself. And he would just stop running to the next station, close his eyes and put his arms out. And the coaches are like yelling at him. The coach is like, get over here, get over here. And he would just tune it all out and just and
just
then I'm
breathe it
like
out.
running past. If I did that, I'm getting thrown out of practice. But with David, they're cutting him some slack as a senior, and I'm like, "What are you doing?" He's like,
David
"You just."
David was like 8 years in at that point.
He was like eight. He was like 8 years in,
David
and
was doing what they're doing now with some of these guys from like Miami who was like 48 playing tight end. Like David was doing that before. If David did what he did then now, he
yeah,
could be like legitimately
Hmm.
Like
Oh
30,
yeah.
he could be collecting like pension
Oh
from
yeah.
Virginia Tech
Hmm.
when he was finally
Collecting
got done.
pensions.
Like he would have literally been like, I'm on Medicare now. Like I'm good to go for the rest of my life.
La-
He coaches up here for a little bit. I know when I saw him,
Yeah.
he was coaching up at Stonebridge High School, where
Yeah.
he's a legend at anyway. So yeah, I saw him like 2018, 2019. He was coaching up there. So I was like, I like saw him from across the field, and I kind of like looked at him like,
I
that
know you.
David? I know
Yeah.
you. You're my grandpa's best friend, I think. So
Last one for me, and then we got a couple submitted, and we'll let you roll. I don't know if there's an answer for this. You're an athlete. You're a big dude. You played for two coaches who like to fake field goals a lot. Was there a fake field goal that you practiced and that we had that you wished we ran
no,
and you never did?
we had one fake field goal that we ever ran, and it was against North Carolina State,
Mm.
2015.
The Isaiah game.
AJ Hughes ran to the left, and it got blown up immediately. And I remember it was like a very like Beamer was like, "We gotta get a fake in," and I was kind of like, "Just hand me the ball." He was like, and AJ was like, "Dude, I'm completely like you're not even close to being as athletic as me," and I was like, "Just give me the." We're not looking at running for 50 yards. We just
Yeah.
need like I could put my head down, maybe get two.
Mhm.
And he's just like, "No, dude, I got this." And so we ran the fake. And we didn't need to run the fake at that point either. Too, it was like
Yep.
really dumb. And yeah, it got blown up immediately. Like it wasn't even close. And then
Yeah.
that was that point. Then Sheebs, I don't think Sheebs even had a fake in for us
Didn't
on
give you
field.
a
I think
chance.
we were trying to do like the over the shoulder toss. And with Wright, it was like kind of working a little bit, but I don't think he trusted him. And then with with Oscar, I think
Mhm.
there was like a language barrier a little bit with Sheaves and Oscar for a little bit. I think
They
Oscar
weren't
just kept
speaking.
saying,
They weren't
yeah.
speaking different languages, man.
Oscar was just like didgeridoo, and he's like, "What? What are you talking about? What the hell? Just throw the ball, Oscar. Damn."
Oh.
So yeah, I think there was a little bit of a we're gonna run a fake. We're gonna run a fake, Oscar. It's gonna go to the
Not even
left.
in the league, Joey. They didn't even give you one in the league. You didn't have a no fake that they sat on that you hoped that we would run. We didn't run.
We there was one when I was in Carolina as a rookie, and
Mhm.
it was like a thought, but I'm not gonna I don't want to put like so much value on kickers nowadays that we're
Mhm.
so important, but I do think uh the defense of saying like, hey, we're not gonna kick this field goal and get points. We're gonna try to get three extra more points, maybe, if we don't like completely decapitate our kicker, if we
Yeah.
don't do this well. Like my like, hey, welcome to the NFL, like welcome to like grown man football. For years, even in college, I was kind of like, oh, like I would hit some guys on kickoff or whatever, and I felt like I could still kind of play if
Mhm.
I really needed to. We got my rookie year, we got a field goal PAT blocked by Tennessee, and when I was in Carolina, my snapper JJ was like on year 12, older guy, like 30 something. Pilardi was my holder. He was in year like 7, 6 at the time. And then I was filling in for Graham, who was in year like 9 or 10 at that point. So like I was very, very young
Mhm.
and very naive to like, again, grown man sport.
Yep.
So we get the kick block. Mike goes to like get to it and realizes like he's not going to get there. So Mike doesn't like pull off in like a very like bad way, but he kind of like starts kind of itching back. Like if this ends up being like a tackle I need to make, I can kind of like, get an ankle. If not, I might even try to push him out of bounds. I'm like beeline for the ball. And I
Yeah.
still kind of do this sometimes. I really do need to stop it. But like if I hear like a block, I like a dog. I'm just like,
Yeah.
where is it? And
Uh-huh.
so I see it and I go to pick it up and I'm reaching down at the ground and I go to lift my head up. And the start middle linebacker for Tennessee comes and spears me in my ear. Now he gets a penalty, which I'm not like happy that I got like ear hold, but I
Yeah.
go on the sideline and I'm like looking around like I don't really know where I'm at.
Mhm.
And my special teams coordinator is like, Joey, we have kickoff. Like, get over here. Like, are you good? And I'm like, oh yeah, I'm great. And he's like, then go get the tee. So I'm just kind of like, dude, what just happened to me?
Uh-huh.
And I look at it on film and I just get obliterated. And
Yeah.
so that kind of got me at a point where they they do run faster, they are a little bit bigger, they do hit harder, and also I think a little bit for him was like, I want to get that ball, but if this idiot kicker wants to pick
I'm
this
gonna
thing up and try
destroy
to
him.
run it,
Yeah.
I'm gonna kill. Like it's like a quarterback throws a pick and they're kind of like
Yeah.
trotting around, like, oh, I'm gonna kind of make this tackle, and someone gets to block them, and they've
Hmm.
obviously outlawed that so that they don't get
Yep.
Brett Favre. But yeah, I mean, he was like, I'm gonna kill this kid,
Mhm.
and I mean, he was probably 25% of the way there, from the way he hit me. So yeah, not I am not gonna do that. And I've made a couple tackles here, and like Devontae Turpin, little or smaller guy for the Cowboys returner. I hit him a couple years ago, and like I do have to like back in football shape, like when you start hitting guys, like your neck gets a little sore in training camp and your head's a little bit
Mhm.
like but then like you just keep doing it and it either gets better or you just get numb
Yeah.
to it.
Mhm.
When you don't do it that often, oh dude, I hit him. He's like 170 pounds and I hit him. And I just remember on Monday, I'm like this hurts way more than it used to.
Yep.
Like I used to hit guys like
All
the
the
V
time.
back. The
Yeah.
V back in high school was like 230 for
Mhm.
Massaponax, and he would just run straight downhill, and I would just try to spear him. And now this little returner that I'm just kind of rolling up on, like my neck is killing me. So yeah, I
Mhm.
couldn't. I I both realized that like yeah, cool, your aspirations of being a linebacker in the league would be awesome, but like there's no shot. But then too, it's like don't do you are a kicker. And I'm like
Yeah.
slowly realizing like I am a kicker. Like a couple years ago, I tore my hamstring trying to run down a defensive lineman that was still faster than me at like 330. And I popped my hand. It looked like I got shot on national television. So like I just gotta stop doing stupid things and
Yeah.
just kick a football, do it well,
Mhm.
and let everyone else that's getting paid to do football stuff, let them take care of the rest of it. So
Three from our listeners here. Brett Smith, simple question. What was up with he goes, when I was in college, I'd go in McComas and he was in there. He's like, I know they have nicer weights in the weight room. Like, why were you in McComas?
it just was a thing. Like I don't really even think you guys know this. Like me and Colton Taylor, we
Mhm.
would work out. Dude, I don't know. They like you like listen to like Andrew Huberman or something like that, or you listen to like Joe Rogan, they're talking about like sleep and all this stuff. And I'm like, oh yeah, like sleep's really important. And it is. Dude, I'd be taking pre-workout at like 10:30 and I'd go work out at McComas at like till like 11:30. Like and I
At
worked there too.
night?
So like, oh dude, I would just go train at night. And if I couldn't get in there, me and Colton found a place. It was called New River Fitness in Radford. I would sometimes just randomly like want to go work out. So I would take some pre, me and him would get in the car. We'd rip it down to Radford and we'd work out at this super sick, like ran down, like horrible, probably like
Super
mom
sick,
and
ran down.
you understand. There's like levels of gyms that you gotta like.
Yeah.
There's ones that are like they look dope, like all
Mhm.
the equipment is state of the art. They have like I work at a place up here called DMV Iron. Sick, like super sick
Yeah.
gym. If you've been there, you know exactly what I'm talking about. If you haven't, go check it out. Shout out to Leo, whatever. But it's super sick gym, like great equipment, all this stuff. But then there's like, I'd rather go to one that's like kind of empty. The weight is like rusting, but they
Mhm.
have like kind of some sick equipment and they let you do things like we would take our shirt off, we'd throw the
Yeah.
music on the aux, and then we would just blast music and like total meathead, like felt like
Yep.
you were Arnold Schwarzenegger, like just
Man, you'd
catching
love World Gym
pumps,
in Pensacola. I know what you're talking
right?
about.
So
Yeah.
you're just like that. Like I'd rather take that gym than like a Lifetime Fitness where
Mhm.
like the dumbbells go up to like 100 pounds. I'm like, no, like that.
You can
If you
release
go to New River,
towels.
you go to
Yeah.
New River, like even the barbell club at Virginia Tech, like that's a super sick
Mhm.
gym at the University Mall. Like super, like all the equipment they have there, super cool. But like, if you notice all the weight that they use, like all those dumbbells that are like there's a dumbbell, I believe over at New River, but there was or at the weight
Barbell
club.
Club. Yeah.
At the there's a dumbbell that literally like it's so rested down and it was heavy enough that it would like bend around your hand. Like the bar is not straight anymore. It's got a little bend to it.
Yeah.
And I would always pick that because the way it felt when you're pressing it, like
Yeah.
it felt amazing. Like there's no pressure on it.
Mhm.
You just felt like it was right with your hand. So yeah, we would so again, long story short, Macomas just go in, work out, get another workout in. Like we obviously were like very scheduled with what we had to do over at the weight room. So
Yeah.
you do your A1, A2, A3, and sometimes you just, hey, I want to go catch a pump, dude. I don't want to do this stuff. So I go work out again.
Interesting. I never had that itch ever.
You didn't take
I don't
enough
think any of us.
pre-workout,
I
that's
don't think
why.
any of us did. So, B for
Again, you
VT.
guys are getting done with practice and your body hurts like really, really bad. Me and Colton would snap 100 balls to me, I'd kick 100 field goals, and then we were like,
Yeah.
yo, let's just go like blast like a back day and just be like meatheads. And that's
I
just
mean,
what it
still,
was.
I wouldn't have that itch, but that makes more sense. I mean, you're not
Yeah.
running into anybody all day, so I get that. But still, I mean, that's some
Yeah.
serious meathead activity.
I'm messed up mentally. It's okay. We all are.
B for VT. This is creative. Like, would you rather have kickoffs going through the uprights at an extra point, or any doinks add a point to the try? So an extra point would be 2 points, or field goal would be 4. I guess to start, like, do you like the new rules? Do you have any rules that you would like to implement? I hate the new kickoff, just gonna be honest. I think it's totally anticlimactic. We're not going to take punching out of boxing or UFC because it's part of the game. I'm going to get canceled for this anti-CTE rhetoric, but I
No, I
don't
get
like the
it.
kickoff.
No, I am in complete agreement with you.
Mhm.
I don't like it either. I think it's stupid. I think I like so apparently they're trying to like get it out of the game, and I don't think you should get it out of the game. Like I don't think football should just be like the ball spot on the 25 offense, go out there,
Yeah,
play, and then kick a field goal,
yeah.
get done with it, and then the ball spot on the other 25 and like I don't think it should be that. I think kicking like people that are football connoisseurs understand like what football actually is like moving like it's the game of moving a football in
Hmm.
positions on the field and then hopefully getting them in the end zone that's football like it's this game of trying to move the ball
Hmm.
and when you just make it touchdowns and non-touchdowns I think you start losing what the actual game of football
Right.
is and that's when you take especially that third part of it special teams you completely take it out of the game so I hate the new kickoff rule. I think that if they want to, they're trying to take out the running aspect of it because that high velocity impact is what was causing issues. Now, if you look at some of the clips from this year, you don't need running to have high impact. Like guys were getting freaking thrown into each other like in a 5 yard range. Like
And it's
it
a
wasn't.
violent game. Like, football is a violent game.
Yeah,
Like, we're like, we should invent another sport. If you
I
if
exactly 100%. That's why the flag football stuff is actually oh I don't want to say it's intriguing for me, but like that's kind of if you want to watch just like people doing some like really cool athletic stuff
yeah,
sometimes, like then go watch flag football. But like,
or watch basketball.
eh, it's basketball's been tough to watch. That turned in from like, hey, let's play basketball. Like you're gonna
Yeah.
stop me from scoring, and now it's just
Mhm.
like let me just score in a cool way, and then you're gonna go down and score in a really cool way
Yeah.
too, and then we're just
Mhm.
gonna keep scoring until someone scores
Yeah.
more. Like
Mhm.
it's not like smack the floor, let's play defense, like try to get around me.
Yeah.
Which again is probably why their ratings are dropping through the roof. But um, with football, like my argument for it, and again, I'm speaking from like a complete like unleverageable position of being a kicker, but like you signed up for exactly what you're doing.
Yeah.
Like I don't see like hockey guys being like, "Oh, dude, like I didn't sign up to get like blasted into the boards
It's
and then get like fisticuffed by like Alex Ovechkin. Like I didn't sign up to get punched in the face on the ice by someone." It's like, no, no, no. Actually, you signed up specifically for that, and you love
yeah.
doing that. So like that's kind of where I get a little bit. I might get canceled for this too, but like I just kind of am looking at it from the perspective of like you knew exactly what you were getting involved in when you signed up. So don't come in here being like, "Oh, I didn't know I was gonna get hurt." Now the CTE stuff and like all that, yeah, like hiding the results of
Mhm.
like brain injuries and stuff like that, and being
That's crazy.
like
So
lying
we
to
can
us.
all be, we're on the same. Yeah, we're
That
on the same
is
page with that.
that is like again, like they put it on boxes now of cigarettes of like you can get cancer from this, but if they were just
Yeah,
telling people for years like no, you don't get cancer from this, it's actually
yeah.
healthy for you, and then all of a sudden you got cancer from it. It's like yo, like why did you not tell me that? So there is that part of it, but now it's like you know exactly what you're signing up for. If you don't want to do it, that's
Nobody's
fine.
making your 8-year-old play football. Like
But
nobody is making you
if you
do
do
that.
it, you do it well, you can make like $15 million. So like
Yeah,
if you want
yeah.
to take that risk, like just don't like learn how to do it to not get hurt. And so
Mhm.
I think now the kickoff through the uprights and then points and stuff, for me, like it would kind of be nice if I could like score more points and it would like
Yeah.
increase my value a little bit. So
Mhm.
like shit, I missed a field goal this game, but I also like hit 3 kickoffs in the
Yeah.
upright. So like I
Mhm.
made it back up. So it would kind of be nice for me value wise, but I with me saying that, I still think that idea, no offense to the comment, but I don't think
Sure.
that's a very smart idea. But I think they need to move if they wanted more returns with less injury. I don't think you're going to get that correlation together. You're not going to get more times that people have to make a tackle and the injury rate's going to go down because you just
Yeah.
took away the running. So if you want more returns, then move the ball back to the 25. And then if you want to incentivize kickers to kick the ball really, really far and you move back to the 25, then like I get more love because I can hit a touchback and like the ball's gonna be
Mhm.
spot on the 25. But if I don't hit a touchback and the ball gets caught at the 5 yard line and then we're all the way at the 25, like you're gonna return that to the 50. Like you're gonna
Yeah.
get bigger returns. So if you want that dynamic to be more of an explosive play for people to not go get food during that play, you got to make it more dynamic. And respect to all the coordinators that are trying to make the change so that they don't lose the kickoff as a whole.
Yeah.
I just think the requirement, like the hoop that they're trying to shoot the basketball in is just not the right hoop. So
Yeah, it's a shame because it completely ruins I know it's such a small thing, but a football game starting and the team running to kick the football off. I think of, every BCS national championship. The fact that we might have like that first play be what starts a game, it's just going to look so silly at the University of Texas kicking off a big football game and that's how it's being kicked off. It was
well, it was even
shocking
worse. It was even
in
worse
the
when it was
NFL.
like the ball gets to the 10 and they like fair catch it. It's like
It's it's
it's like
heinous.
no. Like run catch the ball and run. Like
Mhm.
go.
Yeah.
Go do
Yeah.
something. So
Yeah.
yeah.
Last one. This one comes from Juliana Q and J. By the way, shout out to Kimber Brzezinski. Both of our girlies were out celebrating Kimber. She's getting
Oh yeah.
married. So shout out to Kimber.
You
Getting a
you
shout out
gonna
on
be
this
there
one.
on the what's that, the 20th?
I am. I will be there. Yeah,
Okay.
gonna be dressed nicely. Gonna get a haircut. I'll tell you what. Little sidebar. Beginning of the year comes around, and I got like whenever I'm like I wasn't in a rut, but I was like, hey, new year, like we're gonna cut all my hair off. So I went in and I told the guy I wanted to look like I showed him a picture. He just took like a one and did my whole hair. And I looked like either a cop you don't want to get pulled over by or like Jarhead. Like
Nice.
it was really, really bad. It was hat
Nice.
season for a while. So we're finally getting to a point where I have a little bit more to work with.
It's okay.
So we just need to
I'm
keep going.
balding, so you at least got hair on your head. The back of my
Totally
if you
bald.
look at the front, I look great. You look at the back of me, like
Mhm.
so if you're watching film, right? We
Yeah.
got pump period, okay? I am now never standing in that camera lens
Mhm.
because if I don't have a hat on, it is the spotlight right here.
Yeah.
And the entire time we're watching film, like I'm watching our punter and he's kicking a great ball. I can't focus on any of that because I
Mhm.
just see like my bald head in the
Yeah.
thing. So that's
Mhm.
the only, so you're good. And there's also the fact that you just got a one all the way around and you had to grow it out. I have some horror stories. Being
Mhm.
when you're talking about the problems of moving from place to place, you got
Yeah.
to find a barber in each one of the
Yeah.
cities that you travel to. And yeah, there's been some weird situations that have
Yeah,
happened.
I
So
found who wasn't going to be my guy. He was nice,
yeah,
just did an awful job. Uh,
yeah.
Her question is, how do you juggle parenthood and being a professional athlete?
Um, So I will say that I'm the complete and utter expert on this topic now that I've been a father for about 4 months now. So if you have any questions about how to be a dad, I'm going to be writing a book about, you know, parental advice for everyone
Yeah.
that's in my life. So I am that guy. I'm that person that tells you how to be a father when my baby can't talk and can't move and do anything. So, um, but no, so. Uh, the last year was really, really cool. I was able New England did a great job of getting me home to see Palmer, our little girl Palmer Memphis. She was born on November 1st.
Great name.
And
Great
so
name.
thank you. Thank you, thank you. It's a shout out to my so Britt picked the name Palmer. She was set on Palmer, but then Memphis, the middle name is actually for like a little shout out to my brother when he was out at St. Jude. St. Jude's in Memphis, Tennessee. So she's got Uncle AJ watching over her a little bit. But um they helped facilitate to get me down. And then my wife and our family in the local area were able to do a great job of taking care of Palmer while I was up by myself. And then we were able to get her up there, and she was up in Boston in Foxborough for the end of the year. So um, it was in the time frame that she was in. She was up there when she was about a month old and two. So they sleep a lot, so I didn't feel like I was missing a lot. I also can't do a
Mhm.
lot at that moment. I can change diapers, and I can get her to smile a couple times here and there, but I wasn't able to do a lot. So I guess the time frame for that was kind of perfect a little bit of just being like,
Mhm.
hey, like I'm not saying I'm not missing them a lot, but there are things that I can be a lot more helpful when I'm home and we were in the off season. So now it's just I'm a diaper changing expert for the most part. Um, um, Trying to fit my schedule around being a dad. So get my workouts in before she's truly awake so I can be
Mhm.
home while she's awake and things like that. So those are all just learning curve things. But like I said, I'll write everything else in my book on how to be a professional father.
Please.
Um, it will be about 6 pages and it will be a lot of like, I don't know, like yeah, I don't know, like Google it, I guess. Ask ask your mom. I don't know. Like, so, but yeah, this it's been a cool experience, and we'll
Mhm.
be seeing how this season goes. While she'll be 9-ish months, 8-ish months when training camp and the season rolled around. So, we'll see how that goes and how we navigate all of that. But the NFL is just a
Mhm.
it's a lot. It's a lot of moving pieces, and so we just got to figure out how the moving pieces of the life at home fits in with that. So.
As a non-kid haver yet, I will say when I do write my book, and I hope you abide by this, don't do the whole like once we get past 18 months, the whole month thing has to stop.
18 months? No, once they're a year
I
old,
honestly after
once
one I would stop. Like I think the whole like
her
oh it's
again, her
17
birthday
months
is
old.
November
Come on.
1st, 11/1.
Mhm.
The
Yeah,
second she hits 1 years old,
she's one.
she is one.
One. How old's your baby? One.
She
How
might
old's your
be
baby?
one and a half,
37 months.
but
Come on.
she's one. She's like
Yeah.
one-ish. Like
Yeah.
she's one born in November. Oh, she's like what? 17th month? Like my dad's military, retired military. We never had like the military clock going around in our
Yeah.
house. But like
Yeah.
I get I'm not sitting here saying I don't know how to read a military clock, but when you don't grow up with a military clock, it's like I'm not trying to do the math right now on like what
No.
time you actually said. Like you
Right.
told me, hey, we're gonna do this podcast at 2. I'm like, all right, I know exactly what time you're talking about. If
Mhm.
you're like, I will call you at 14 hour, like 14:00,
1400. Yeah.
whatever,
No.
and I'm just gonna be sitting there like, all right, I know he said 1400, but and I know that's 2 o'clock, but I'm somehow gonna mess this up.
Yeah.
And so yeah, if you're like, yeah, my kid's like 41 and a half months old,
It's
I'm gonna
like
be
you're
like,
trying to be it's like you're trying to be more confusing on purpose to generate more. I just asked how old it was. I kind of care. I don't care enough to know like come on. It's just
and it makes it even harder because I've realized like with all this, like again, she's 4 months old now,
mhm.
and like I have never grasped children's ages. Like if I saw like a 2 month old,
Yeah.
I could like back in the day, I might have looked at him and like, how old is that baby? Like
2?
8 months? And they're
Yeah.
like, no, 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 it's like 2 months old. It's like, oh, that thing's only 2 months old. That thing
Mhm.
and like I've been putting a lot of creatine and protein in Brit's breast milk, so I think our baby's gonna be a little bit bigger. So I'm kidding, completely kidding. Kind of, but if our Palmer is she's a very healthy baby right now,
Yeah.
and
Uh-huh.
so I'm not gonna lie, if I would have saw her like before I had a kid, I would have been like, "How is that baby? Like 10 months?" Like,
Yeah.
and oh, she's not talking at 10 months, and then it's like, no, she's 4 months old, and it's
Mhm.
like, oh, like she's only four. It's like,
Right.
yeah. So I could never grasp that, and I still honestly I can't. I'm not gonna act like I still can.
Mhm.
Um, but when you add now in the mix, if you're like, no, my kid's one, it's like, oh, like that's kind of what one looks like. But if you're like, no, they're like 32 and a half months old, I'm like,
Yeah. Preposterous.
okay, like that's you're like what, almost 3 years old now?
Mhm.
Like that's what almost 3-year-old looks like. I couldn't
Mhm.
you mixed me up because I thought you were a 32 and a half week old and you're saying you're three and I can't do the math now. And so now your kid looks like a 2-month old to me. So way to go. You got a newborn again. I don't know.
Glad we're on the same page. Joey, please tell Brittany hello. Beautiful
We'll do.
family. Looking forward
Do you
to
can
year
she make
7 for
a
you.
appearance?
Of course. Yeah.
Oh, speaking of Miss Chunkalunga, come here, boss. Hi. Do you want to say
Wow.
hi?
Creatine
Hi,
sponsorship coming up. Look at
boss.
that.
Say hi. Can you say hi?
Unbelievable
Oh,
eyes.
you don't like
Oh
that. Oh, babies.
no.
Oh, this is perfect. You're always so smiley when you like things.
Are we going for a
So
mohawk or one of those like
so
karate masters ponytails in the back?
she fully has my genetics, so she's already
Mhm.
balding in the back of her head, right? Like me. But yeah, she no, she's got some new hairs coming in, some old hairs coming out. So we'll see. We'll see what she looks like in a few months when she's got a full head of hair. Are you gonna smile or are you just gonna be this is what Virginia Tech class of 2024, so what class of 36,
Speaking of
32?
things
No, 32, 36,
Speaking of
whatever.
things that I just don't understand, man, like when you meet people and you're like, "Oh, what year were you born?" And they hit you with like the 2007, and you're just like, "Oh my god!" And they can drink now. So I remember when my grandparents when they were talking to me, and they were probably like, "Damn, like Pearl Harbor, you weren't even alive." Now I'm like 9/11, you were -6. It's really we're getting old, Joey.
Well,
It's getting scary.
here's my problem still with that. I know it's 2024, but like if you were to tell me like 1990, I would tell you that's like 20 years
15
ago.
years ago. Yeah.
That's
Nope.
not even
No.
close.
No.
If you were to tell me
No.
like 1970, I still think 1970 is
35
like,
years ago?
yeah, 30, 35.
Yeah.
Not
No.
50,
No.
not
No, dude.
55 years ago, not even close. Right? Not even close. 55
No.
years ago, that's like yesterday for you. And
Yes.
so, yeah, trust me, dude, she's 2024 birth.
Yeah.
Like, doesn't make
Crazy.
sense. So,
It's
yeah,
crazy. Joey, looking forward to seeing you at the Rosinski wedding. I guess it wouldn't be the Rosinski wedding. It is the Whitfield wedding, right? Whitfield?
Whitfield.
Whitefield? Whitfield. That's right. Looking forward to it. Thanks for jumping on. Again, we will include all of the information for donations in the social media and in the article. Jump on, help make a difference. And Joey, looking forward to what's next for you, my friend.
Yeah, thank you, man. I appreciate you always using your platform to help with things like this. You guys help me always when you're back in college, and I've done a great job now. Like you said, if you guys can go on, just click the website. Obviously, hear my story. I'll send some more information about Fisher's story and everything that he's fighting for as well. Every dollar counts. So if all you can give is $1, then that's one more dollar that can go towards fighting cancer. And please share with everyone that's in your circle. The best way for us to continue to fundraise as much as we can is just to get as many people as we can involved, and see what we can do. So, like I said, the end of the campaign will be in May. That also does not mean that that's the end of this fight. Like we can continue this, to give towards Leukemia Lymphoma Society past that. We have our family foundation with the Slye Strong 6 Foundation that we continually help with. people in our community fighting cancer as well. So there's a lot of things that you can get involved with, but right now we're really trying to crack down to see if we can be a little bit competitive and, like I said, get Hokie Nation behind this as well. So.
Awesome. Well, Joey, it looks like it's time for workout number 3 of the day. I'm going to let you go ahead and get after it. Appreciate you taking the time, my friend. We'll do it again soon.
Appreciate it, Billy. Have a good one, brother.